What if I told you every single thing you knew about procrastination was a total lie? Motivation porn on social media and mainstream movies have convinced us that in order to beat procrastination, all you need is raw motivation. And if you still procrastinate, then you're just being a lazy piece of shit. In this video, I'm going to show you why this is not the case, why raw motivation is not the right approach towards beating procrastination, and how your real problem is not even procrastination. Procrastination is just the symptom, and trying to mask the symptoms without addressing the root cause is never going to work. It's like having a gunshot wound on you that's just gushing out blood and you popping in painkillers to mask the pain. But first, let me tell you a bit about my story, just so you know that I too have faced exactly what you're facing right now. Throughout my teenage years and during my early 20s, I used to be a serial procrastinator. My grades were shit, homework's incomplete, assignments due, and I only used to start doing things just a couple of days before the deadline. And that explains why I got these shitty grades. After living my life this way, I was frustrated, disappointed. I knew I wasn't living up to my fullest potential. So I went on this transformative journey for the next 5 years to try and fix my mental health. For this, I read hundreds of self-help books, watched 1,000 different podcasts, tried a bunch of tools, techniques, frameworks, diets, supplements, you name it, I've tried them all. So during that 5 years of research period, I discovered certain protocols that completely flipped my life around. I went from this failure of a student to someone who has now worked at Fortune 500 companies such as Dell Technologies, AMD, Synopsys. I also became one of the top performing students in my bachelor's and my master's program. And don't get me wrong, this journey did not just transform me into a total nerd. I was lifting weights at the gym and training martial arts 6 days a week. So I haven't mentioned this transformation to brag about myself, but rather to establish some sort of credibility. Like, I'm not going to tell you some theories that I read in a book. These are tried and tested mechanisms that have practically changed my life. So back then, even I thought that the biggest problem that I have in my life is procrastination, that I simply just procrastinate stuff. But then I asked myself, why do I exactly procrastinate things? Like, I was quite an ambitious guy. There was a laundry list of things I wanted to achieve. So why is it that I never did those things? I never did those practical behaviors that would allow me to achieve these things. So I got a pen and I got a paper and I started listing down these thoughts. Why do I procrastinate? And the first thing that hit me was that I usually never have the motivation to do these things. I never really have the motivation to take the first step towards a thing. I noted that down. Lack of motivation. Then the next thing that I wrote down was that I always used to feel bored when I used to do these activities. Even though I knew these were productive, they were good for me, and I actually wanted to achieve the final outcome, but I always find the process of doing these activities, like reading a book, kind of boring, to be honest. The next thing that I wrote down was that I had a shortened attention span. I remember sitting down at my table trying to study math or learn programming, and I could only last for like 20 to 30 minutes before I got bored, distracted, had to check my phone or look around or pretty much end the study session. And the last thing that I wrote down on that list was that I felt slightly depressed. Like, I had this hint of sadness within me. Like, each day I used to wake up, I did not even feel like getting off the bed. It used to take me like a good 20-30 minutes before I could actually move out of the bed. And when you feel this way, kind of sad, kind of depressed, you actually don't like starting things. Like, I took a long, hard look at this list. I was depressed, I had a short attention span, and I had no motivation whatsoever. So this pretty much meant that my mental health was messed up, and this is why I was procrastinating things. Now my enemy was much more defined. My enemy was not procrastination. My enemy was actually my own fucked up mental health. I knew that if I fixed my mental health, procrastination would just disappear. I would no longer have to put so much energy or try to motivate myself to this degree to actually do those tasks. I wouldn't have to push myself. When you have really good mental health, you naturally want to do these things. You don't have to push yourself. These things will pull you. They will attract you towards them. So why exactly did I have this shitty mental health? It's because I was performing shitty habits. And the truth is that I deserved it. I deserve to have poor mental health, because as soon as I used to wake up from sleep, like I used to still be there on my bed, I used to like scroll through social media, check my notifications, and like stimulate myself for like 30-40 minutes even before I got out of bed. And what do you think I was teaching myself? What do you think I was doing to myself when I was like scrolling through reel after reel, post after post, just looking at each post for like 30-40 seconds and then moving to the next one? I was literally teaching my brain to shorten its attention span. I was literally teaching myself to, hey, focus on something for 20-30 seconds and then seek out the next novel, pleasure-inducing thing. And that translated to my real life. That is the reason why I could not study for longer than 20 to 30 minutes, because my brain expected some new, novel, highly dopamine, highly stimulating thing to come. And then there were things like video games, pornography, binge watching Netflix. I was consuming all of these things, and I thought that all of these things just gave you free pleasure without a cost. But I was wrong. there is a cost associated with these things. There is no such thing as free pleasure. You're essentially robbing the future you of the happiness. You're consuming tomorrow's happiness today. What happens when you consume these things is that your brain is flooded with excessive dopamine, and this makes you desensitized to it. This is why I started to find productive things boring, because I was just so desensitized to dopamine. I had flooded my brain, I destroyed my dopamine receptors with all this excessive stimulation, that now I actually found the productive things boring because they pale in comparison. Imagine playing video games. Like, I used to play GTA for like 3-4 hours a day, be in the stimulating world where you have access to cars, guns, status, you have these really stimulating missions, and then imagine trying to read a book immediately after this. Just some black text on a white page. What do you think is going to happen? The probability is that you are not going to read that book because you're not going to find it stimulating enough. It pales in comparison to the stimulation you receive from video games. The last destructive thing that I was doing was I was actually consuming a shit ton of processed fast food. And you know what my perspective was back then? It was that all fast food does is essentially makes you a bit fat, a bit obese. And I really did not care. I was like a skinny teenager. I was like, fine, I might just be a bit chubby. I might just gain a couple of pounds. Who really cares? Like, this was a good deal for me. Eating burgers, drinking soda, eating candy in exchange for a little bit of fat. I didn't really mind it, but I was wrong. The true danger of fast food is that it destroys your mind. It shortens your attention span, causes a bunch of inflammation in your head, which is why you feel depressed, low, out of energy, not motivated, not disciplined at all. It literally makes you lethargic. It literally makes you weak. And I wish someone would have told me this like 5 or 10 years ago, like, hey buddy, listen to me. This garbage that you're putting into yourself, it's not just going to affect your body, it's going to destroy your mind too. If you're someone who enjoys information-based content rather than just pointless entertainment, then make sure that you click on the subscribe button, because I'm going to be making a lot more of these. So now I knew that my procrastination was caused by poor mental health, and my poor mental health was caused by these bad habits. I just knew that there were certain things that I was doing that were not really good for me, and I noted them all down. And then for the next 2 months, I went on like a complete dopamine detox. I decided that during this time, my highest priority is going to be fixing my mental health. It's not going to be chasing some external goal, but it's rather to fix my internal. So literally anything that I listed down, I quit them all cold turkey. And I'm not going to lie, like the first few weeks, they were kind of difficult because I was experiencing all these withdrawals, these cravings. These were things that I've been using for like 10 plus years. So my brain was just so addicted to them. Therefore, you experience all these withdrawal symptoms, severe cravings, mood swings, emotional volatility, sadness, anxiety. You kind of experience these symptoms. And as I was like going through these symptoms, I continued researching on how to get over these withdrawal symptoms. And I discovered some protocols that did wonders for me during this phase. For example, fasting was one such protocol. I realized that when I fasted for something around 18 to 20 hours a day, I experienced like none of these withdrawal symptoms. No cravings, no mood swings, no sadness. It's almost like those regions of your brain which cause these withdrawal symptoms get completely switched off. And that was something like very, very profound. Because I believe that 90% of the people, they're unable to quit these bad habits because of the withdrawal symptoms. But if you could like stop the withdrawal symptoms from occurring at all, then it's kind of much easier to give up these bad behaviors. Along with fasting, there were other protocols that I was following, like taking cold showers, meditating, writing a journal, and all these things really, really helped my mental health. Like with cold showers, I realized that my anxiety got lowered and my mood got elevated. With meditation, my attention span began to increase. So I was meditating for about 10 minutes a day, and this really, really increased my attention span. Initially, when I started, I could only last like 2 or 3 minutes while meditating before really getting bored or losing focus. But gradually I built it up to like 10 minutes. And journaling really helps you declutter your mind. There are 1,000 different thoughts, things that you're thinking about from the present or the past that need to be put on a piece of paper just so that you can dissect them and understand what really went on in your life. And this really relaxes your psyche. You feel like, whoa, okay, all this mental baggage is cleared out. So for the next 2 months, this is what my routine looked like. I did not have to worry about university or school or work because I had vacation going on. So I was the master of my own time. I used to wake up at 5 a.m., take a cold shower, pray, and then get to work at 5:30 a.m. So from 5:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., this is where I used to do my deep focus work. And this could mean a bunch of things, from learning programming to working on a side hustle to reading a book, anything that requires a lot of cognitive ability and focus. This is where I used to schedule schedule it. So initially when I was just starting out, this block was not 4 hours long because my attention span was not that much. Initially I could just do it for maybe 30 minutes to 1 hour, but eventually as the days went on and the more I practiced doing deep focused work, my attention span became longer and longer. Then the next thing I would do at 10:30 a.m. is actually go and work out, hit the gym. It could be either strength training or some martial arts training or cardio, running, whatever. It was just some form of exercise that I was doing. Around 12 p.m. I would break my fast. This meant that I was fasting for like 16 hours. After the meal I would take a quick 20-minute power nap. I feel this is so essential. When you take a 20-minute power nap, it almost feels like you're rejuvenated and a new day has started. This is why I was able to get so much done. It's because I was living 2 days. One day before the power nap and one day after the power nap. Without the power nap, I typically used to crash at around 2 p.m., 3 p.m. But with that 20-minute power nap, I could continue to work longer. So between 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., I used to do a lot of journaling, meditation, listening to podcasts. These hours were like my personal development hours. These activities were not done in any specific order. I just knew that this block of time was dedicated to these set of activities and I could do them according to what I felt like doing. Finally, between 6 to 8 p.m. I used to socialize with family or close friends. At around 8 p.m. I used to have my dinner, and 9 p.m. I used to be in bed. I cannot begin to tell you how important it is for you to have a proper sleep schedule. Like previously I used to think that if I just sleep 8 hours a day, that's enough. It doesn't matter if I sleep at 1 a.m. or 10 p.m. All that matters is the duration of the sleep. But I was so wrong. The other half of the equation is when do you go to bed, and whether you go to bed at the same time and you wake up at the same time every single day. What used to happen was I used to sleep at random times and then I used to wake up at random times and almost felt like I had jet lag. Like I used to feel tired, fatigued, have this brain fog. Ever since I started waking up and sleeping at the same times regularly for like a couple of weeks, my mood became better. The amount of focus I could generate became better. You will honestly be surprised how many issues that you're currently facing are due to improper sleep. If you optimize the quality of your sleep, I'm willing to bet like at least a good 30-40% of the issues you're facing, they're going to completely disappear. So I followed this exact protocol, this exact routine for the next 2 months, and my mental health became pretty awesome. No more depression, no more shortened attention span, no more lack of motivation. I was consistently getting a lot of stuff done. Even to this day, those habits have helped me. Like you can check out my channel. You can see that I've been posting consistently from like the last 8-9 months, 2 to 3 videos a week. And each of these videos takes like 4 to 5 hours. The amount of consistency that I got from optimized mental health, it helped me in every single domain of life. From my academics, from my workouts, from my side hustle, from my business. The secret to consistency, working hard, eliminating procrastination, the secret to that is having a good mental health foundation. If you're an ambitious guy and you really want to achieve a lot in life, but procrastination, bad habits, poor mental health, all these things are holding you back, then make sure that you click on the link in the description and book a one-on-one call with me. In this call, we'll discuss where you are currently in life and what exactly are your goals and how I can help you reach them. I only take on 5 clients at a time. Make sure that you book now so you don't miss out.